Poor visibility causing grounded flights, cancelled trains, slow traffic and wheezing pedestrians. Authorities asking parents to keep children at home and hospitals teeming with patients complaining of breathing difficulties. You think we're talking about New Delhi in 2017, but we're not.
These were the circumstances in London in 1952, 65 years ago. And yet, Delhi is dealing with the same crisis. Only this time in the 21st century. The cause or causes are almost identical. Low wind speeds, a temperature inversion and noxious fumes combining to cause a toxic haze unlike the Indian capital has seen before. The calamity has forced authorities into action. The Delhi government has restarted the odd-even license plate scheme for privately owned vehicles for a week starting Monday. The National Green Tribunal has banned construction and industrial activities in the National Capital Region till the 14th of November. They've also asked civic bodies to ensure there's no burning of waste in the NCR and make sure the Environment Protection Agency's directions are followed to a T. Sprinkling of water in areas where particulate matter 10 is in excess of 600 micrograms per cubic meter has been ordered. It all sounds great, but the question is, are these temporary and cosmetic answers to a problem whose roots run deeper and wider? Crop stubble burning in neighbouring states of Punjab and Haryana has contributed immensely to the crisis. Clamping down on it is a possible solution, but the Punjab Chief Minister has put his dilemma on the table.
Till such time as the Government of India or the National Green Tribunal asks the Government of India to resolve this by giving compensatory allowance to the farmers, this is not going to stop. And I personally cannot take action. Now, how many? Today Punjab must be, thousands of farmers must be burning there. What am I going to book all thousands of farmers? I can't do this.
The central government has formed a panel to deal with the crisis, but has simultaneously called on state governments to get their acts together.
We have asked the Delhi government to ensure that if they can sprinkle water on the roads, use mechanized way for dust removal from the roads, and then to improve public transport, ensure that more of trains are deployed for metro services, and then we have simultaneously instructed the neighbouring states also to ensure that this crop burning, etc., all this should stop immediately.
While state and central governments squabble over who's to blame for the current scenario, citizens continue to struggle with the hazardous haze. The question is, will the huddles and high-level meetings produce a long-term solution or a short-term eyewash? Bureau Report, WION.
As air pollution in India's capital inches toward an emergency, major hospitals in Delhi are flooded with patients complaining of respiratory problems. Nagin Singh with this report.
The heavy blanket of smog covering Delhi has turned into a public health emergency. Such is the gravity of the situation that even stepping out of the house for a matter of minutes could be harmful to your health. 63-year-old Ganga Sahai is battling for his life. A regular morning walk ended with him in the hospital, struggling to breathe. Mr. Sahai has been suffering from asthma for the last 5 years. His condition worsened due to Delhi's toxic air.
तो सांस लेने में प्रॉब्लम हुई तो हम रात को यहाँ मॉर्निंग में सुबह 6 बजे आए हुए हैं यहाँ पे अभी मतलब चल रहा है इलाज तो रिलीफ पहले से अस्थमा हाँ पहले से अस्थमा है पहले नॉर्मली शिकायत होती थी ठंड में ही होती है बाकी गर्मियों में नहीं होती शिकायत कभी पिछले साल भी ऐसा हुआ हाँ शिकायत हुई थी तो मतलब नॉर्मली 1-2 इंजेक्शन लगते हैं ठीक हो जाते हैं घर चले जाते हैं.
The worst affected are the elderly, expectant mothers, those who work outdoors and of course children.
2-3 दिन हो गए बच्चे के सांस बढ़ रहा है और ऊपर से बुखार है और खांसी है. तभी अभी मैं हॉस्पिटल लाया था कल रात को तो अभी एडमिट कर रहा हूँ.
Even the masks that are available at pharmacies are not adequate enough to stop Delhi residents from breathing such toxic air.
For general public, they can use mask, especially N95 mask, which can withhold the nano 2.5 nm particles. If they cannot purchase it, they can use simple cloth which can be wet. At least they can prevent.
Hospitals in Delhi are flooded with patients complaining of respiratory problems, as well as irritation and itching of the eyes.
Pollution levels as well as the number of patients who are suffering with breathing issues have increased within the last 2 days in Delhi. The worst affected are the children and the elderly. Government hospitals are not able to manage the increasing number of patients who are coming to the hospital. With video journalist B.D. Dhayani, Nagin Singh, WION.
So it's one problem, that is the smog, but the causes are multiple. We're joined this evening by Chetan Agarwal. He's an environmentalist. He's joining in on the conversation from New Delhi. Mr. Agarwal, thanks very much for speaking with us here at WION. So dust, smoke, crop stubble burning, crackers, industrial fumes, which one of these is the main culprit?
Thank you. I think the situation we have here is that our normal level of pollution is already very high because of, like you said, multiple sources, vehicles, biomass burning within cities, around cities, for warming our hands or for cooking. And then when you add this this overlay of crop burning which happens at this point of the year, and it combines with the weather phenomena of the which aggravates the situation, that really tips us over. So we don't have because our normal levels of pollution are already so high, we don't have a buffer, and as soon as the crop burning, we get that other 20-25% from the crop burning, that really takes us way over the normal limits. So there are multiple problems, and all of them have to be tackled so that we can then come down to a slightly normal kind of situation.
All right.
And that's a multiple year issue. It can't be tackled easily.
All right, so you're saying with the regular already being irregular in many ways, this new situation is only sort of adding to the woes of Delhiites. If I can also ask you, in that sense, these new measures that have been announced by the NGT, by the Delhi government, do they seem just stopgap arrangements, because there seems to be a bigger problem at play already?
Yeah, the bigger problem is it's a massive problem. So our standards are at 60 or 100 part mg, and our normal levels are at 200 or 300. And when you have these super emergency kind of situation, we are at 400 or 500. That means we need to come down from 500 to 50. So we need to come down 60-70%, which we basically need to relook how our economy works, how we travel, everything, because it's all adding up. So the measures which have been announced recently are basically the emergency measures to reduce our exposure and the most, try and reduce the top level of pollution, but it's not addressing the base of the cake. It's just looking at the top icing.
Would it be safe to say, sir, that if the base level pollution
immediately?
Sure. Would it be safe to say that if the base level pollution were lower, then this situation would obviously have lesser implications? I'm talking about, crackers on Diwali. I'm talking about the crop burning which happens around this time of the year.
Yes. So like if you're at, your water is already up till your neck, and then you get 1 foot of water, you're well over. But if it was at your waist, then you had 1 foot of water, you will still be better off. So we need to look at both that last foot which is coming and why we are already in 5 feet of water, so to speak.
All right, I like that analogy, and I wonder why such a simple solution hasn't been looked at by authorities earlier. I mean, this is the 21st century, and we're comparing India to how things were in 1952 when it came to the London smog, as has the Delhi High Court today. Stay with me, Mr. Agarwal. I just want to take our viewers through some of the measures that have been announced, because as the air pollution in the Indian national capital is only growing, government authorities have swung into action to curb the crisis. The Delhi government has decided to impose the odd-even road rationing scheme in the capital from November 14th to November 17th after receiving flack from the NGT. But Delhi's Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal has said that the increasing pollution is not due to Delhi but because of neighbouring states.
दिल्ली का जो अपना पोल्यूशन है उससे कहीं ज़्यादा पोल्यूशन इस टाइम दिल्ली के अंदर है, वो आसपास के क्रॉप बर्निंग की वजह से है। और मैंने पंजाब और हरियाणा दोनों के माननीय मुख्यमंत्रियों से मिलने का समय मांगा था। अभी तक उनके यहाँ से उन्होंने समय दिया नहीं है।
The National Green Tribunal had rapped the state governments of Delhi, Haryana and Uttar Pradesh for their failure to act. It added that the governments have been passing the buck to each other while not taking cognizance of the seriousness of the situation. The Green Court has asked for a ban on trucks carrying construction material to Delhi and the National Capital Region. The next hearing in the case is on Tuesday, by which time all concerned authorities and the Pollution Control Board need to file a status report. Apart from this, the Delhi High Court has also intervened in the case and asked the state and central governments to submit a report regarding the matter. The National Human Rights Commission has also issued notices to the centre and governments of Punjab and Haryana over their action plan to tackle the situation. Taking stock of it, junior and union ministers for environment in India have said that they've asked the Delhi government to take certain steps in order to curb pollution and instructed states like Punjab and Haryana to stop crop burning.
जो एक्सपर्ट्स हमारे सलाह दे रहे हैं वो सलाहें हमने दिल्ली सरकारों को सभी को दी है। पराली जलाने पर जो एक रोक लगाई है उसको प्रभावी ढंग से लगाएं, जनरेटरों का उपयोग रोकें, बिजली की सप्लाई सुनिश्चित करें, ट्रैफिक जाम की स्थिति कहीं पर भी ना हो, भट्टों का जिनमें जिग जैग चिमनी नहीं है उनका बंद करें। एनटीपीसी पावर प्लांट भारत सरकार ने बंद कर दिया है। जहां धूल मिट्टी उड़ रही है वहां पानी का छिड़काव करें। ये ऐसे कुछ साधन है।
And it happens every year, the thick blanket of smoke which envelops Delhi. How do expatriates and foreigners cope? Air purifiers appear to be their lifeline. Sneha Mukherjee reports.
Delhi's air quality index, as monitored by the Central Pollution Control Board, showed a score of 487 out of 500, indicating severe levels of pollution. Experts have warned that such levels can affect healthy people, apart from seriously impacting those with existing diseases.
This time the situation is very severe. When we are talking about the air quality index, so air quality index above 300, like we are saying that we are in the severe range. So we just suggest the people like they should not go out from their homes.
Expatriates in Delhi are worried. They say they prefer to stay indoors and limit movement outdoors. Some of the expatriates, who are US nationals, say they allow their children outside only when the US Embassy, which monitors air quality, reports that it's safe.
I have 3 children of my own, and because of the pollution levels today, I have my driver kids are here, and also my nanny's kids. The baby is here. She's only 5 weeks old, and my friend child also is here because she so far doesn't have air purifier at home, but she will install them tonight because she's now convinced that it's a must.
They rely on air purifiers to ensure indoor air quality. Other personal devices are used to measure indoor and outdoor air pollution.
With pollution level crossing 3 times the hazardous level and 15 times the permissible level, Delhi has almost become a gas chamber. To stay safe, stay inside, especially during the early mornings and evenings. From New Delhi, with Vijay Shekhar, Sneha Mukherjee, WION.
The environmentalist Chetan Agarwal continues to be with us on the conversation. Mr. Agarwal, I'm hearing of more and more people deciding to stay indoors, but I'm also reading on social media of people reporting that the levels of pollution within their homes are already hazardous or at least very severe. So is there really any point in being indoors? What exactly are the benefits of not stepping out, let's say?
Well, I'm not really qualified to talk about that, but my general sense is that if there's more smog coming in and you're indoors and you're kind of closed, then you're not getting the new stuff coming in. So if your house, and if there's a temporal aspect that, you know, early in the morning or at certain times, late in the evening, there's a spike, then if you're not getting in that new air coming into the house at that point, then maybe you're marginally better off. But if you're getting in that new air coming into the house at that point, then maybe you're marginally better off. But if you're getting in that new air coming into the house at that point, then maybe you're marginally better off. But if you're getting in that new air coming into the house at that point, then maybe you're marginally better off. I guess.
Fair enough. I suppose I should ask you more about how the environment really is being impacted by all of these, the factors that I already mentioned. Now, there are also mentions of using water sprinklers, let's say, to, settle dust levels. But isn't the dust really the problem caused by, rapid development of property, of real estate in the NCR region? And that's obviously contributing tremendously to the particulate matter in the air. So as you were mentioning earlier, if there has to be a solution that has to be arrived at, which one of these things do you think needs to be tackled first, if not all of them at the same time?
Yeah, so that's really the key thing to understand about the nature of the problem is there are about 10 or 15 sectors which are all contributing, and individually each of them may not be more than 10 or 15 or maybe 20%. So the ones which are at 10 to 20% contribution, those are the sectors we really need to tackle, and the graded response action plan and the comprehensive plan which have been made in the last year under the Supreme Court orders and are being enforced by the EPCA, that's really, it's a massive step forward that we have looked at all of these sectors and said across these 10-15 sectors, these are the steps we need to take at different levels of pollution in terms of an emergency response. And at the same time, the comprehensive plan is supposed to help in the transition towards a cleaner economy, so to speak. So those are the two things. There's an emergency response and then there's the transition. So the transition, for example, in diesel is that vehicle standards would move to Bharat Stage 6 by 2020. So that's a 3-year transition that needs to happen. And then there are the emergency things like if it's really high, we might go on odd even. So both these steps, the emergency steps and the transition towards a cleaner, economic, cleaner sectors and adoption of clean technology and all the pain and the effort that it will require, both of them need to happen at the same time.
So the plan, as you're pointing out, is rather comprehensive. There's no doubt. Detailed what the graded response action plan entails. But do you think the big drawback to all of this is the number of people or agencies and governments that are involved? Because right now we're seeing a tussle between the state governments of Delhi, Haryana and Punjab. They're passing the buck from one to another. Is that really going to have to be solved first to see, to see some of the action taken place on the ground?
So I just remembered a little while ago on your program, the Delhi Chief Minister said that most of the smog is coming from outside. So he's blaming it on the crop burning. And so from a scientific point of view, it's very important to do what are known as source apportionment studies at different points of time. So you can actually say that in this October-November period, how much of the problem is coming from crop burning from outside the city. And the study which was done by IIT about a year and a half ago in 2016, they put about the number at 15 to 20% roughly. So maybe something needs to be done at this point of time. I guess I'm making the case for source apportionment studies across these cities. For example, Gurgaon has 4 times the number of vehicles per 1,000 people than Delhi, and it has much more generator sets as power backup. So maybe Gurgaon has a bigger diesel problem than Delhi does. So all these cities need to look at how much they're generating themselves and also how much is coming from outside. And the problem of Delhi, Haryana and Punjab kind of coordinating is for the crop burning.
Right.
And that's a more intractable problem which needs to be addressed,
All right, so a systematic approach perhaps is what's lacking, not just when it comes to air pollution in the country. I'd say, I'd wager a guess that that's the problem facing many other issues that India is having to deal with right now. Mr. Chetan Agarwal, we leave it at that. Thanks very much for joining us this evening and sharing your perspective with us on that story. Let's hope we don't have to talk to you tomorrow and the situation gets better, that the sun comes out and there is some relief for Delhi and the National Capital Region when it comes to that toxic haze.